Welcome to today's debate. My name is Talita Naila Hussein Firmansyah, and I will be serving as your chairperson for this round. Together with our respected adjudicators, Aulia and Salsa, we will be observing this debate and managing the flow of today's session. The motion for sorry. The motion for today's debate is this House believes that the media has a moral obligation to promote educational content. Before we begin, allow me to explain the debate structure briefly. In this debate, there are four teams, each consisting of one or two speakers. The first, there's opening government with the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime of Minister. And there's opening opposition, leader of opposition, and deputy leader of opposition. And there's a closing government with member of government and government whip. The last is closing opposition with the member of opposition and opposition whip. Each speakers will have 7 minutes to deliver their speech. There will be a single knock at the first minute and 6 minutes to indicate the protected time. And there's a double knock at the 7 minute, which means the speaker's time is up. During the debate, please maintain silence unless you're offering a point of information between the first and 6 minutes of your opponent's speech. I hope all teams are ready. If everybody is ready, we shall now begin this debate. I now call upon the Prime Minister to hear the case from the government bench. Prime Minister, the time is yours.
All right. Good morning, honorable adjudicators, honorable chairs, respected members of the House, and fellow debaters. As the Prime Minister, I'm proud to support the motion. This House believes that the media has a moral obligation to promote educational content. Let us begin with the issue behind this motion. In today's world, people spend more time consuming media than reading books or attending formal education. However, much of what we see online and on television is dominated by gossip, violence, misinformation, and entertainment, not education. As a result, people, especially the younger generation, are more influenced by entertainment trends than meaningful learning. This condition raises up an important question. Should the media continue to focus only on profit and entertainment, or should it take moral responsibility to educate society? That is why this motion exists, to address the growing imbalance between entertainment and education in modern media. Let me now clarify the definition in this debate. Media means mass communication platform such as television, radio, newspaper, and digital media like YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok. Educational content means material that teach or inform audience about knowledge, skills, or positive values such as science, language, health, culture, and environment. Moral obligation means an ethical responsibility, not enforced by law, but based on moral duty to benefit society. We limit to our debate to national media in Indonesia, including both traditional and digital media, with focus on teenager and young adults as the primary audience. This is because they are the most active media consumers and the future of our nation. The goal of this motion is to encourage the media to become an active agent of education to inspire, inform, and building knowledge, not merely to entertain or seek profit. We want to prove that the media, when guided by moral values, can help improve public understanding and support national education. For my first argument is media has moral power that shapes public mindset. Media is one of the strongest influence in modern life. It shapes how people think, behave, and even vote. Because of that power, the media cannot act neutrally or selfishly. It must carry moral responsibility to guide society toward knowledge and positive values. For example, when news channel spread educational awareness about climate change, health, or literacy, people become more informed and responsible. If the media ignores this duty, it allows ignorance, hoax, and moral decline to spread unchecked. For my second argument, is promoting educational content promoting educational content builds a knowledgeable and critical society. When the media promotes education, people gain access to information they might never get from school. This is crucial in Indonesia, where many areas have limited access to quality education. For instance, TV show like Laptop Si Unyil, Indonesia Pintar, or educational YouTube channels like Ruang Guru and Zenius make learning accessible and interesting. This helps reduce inequality, supports lifelong learning, and strengthens public literacy. So, promoting educational content isn't just moral, it's a practical contribution to national development. For my third argument is educational media protect youth from negative content. Teenagers are highly exposed to social media that often promotes violence, consumerism, and unhealthy lifestyles. When media channels intentionally produce educational content, they provide safer, more meaningful alternative for youth. Educational influencer who mix entertainment with learning, like Jerome Pauline or Daddy Corbusier's podcasts, prove that education can also be fun and popular. This shapes positive digital behavior, strengthens moral value, and helps young people use technology wisely. To conclude, we live in an area where the media has more influence than school. With that power comes a moral obligation to guide society, not through fear or gossip, but through education and enlightenment. Therefore, we, the opposing government, proudly stand that the media has a moral obligation to promote educational content because education through media builds a wiser, more informed, and more responsible society. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your speech. Next, I call upon the Leader of Opposition to hear the case from the opposition bench. Leader of Opposition, the time is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. As the leader of opposition, I stand against the idea that the media has a moral obligation to promote educational content. The government side believes that media should shape society's mindset, build critical citizen through educational content and do it as a moral duty. We, on the opposition side, believe that education is vital. Turning the media into a moral instrument of education is both unrealistic and dangerous. Our claim is simple. The media's responsibility is to inform, not to instruct. Let's start with the Prime Minister first point that the media should shape society's mindset. That sounds good, but in practice, it gives too much power to those who control the media. When media tries to shape how people think, it stops being a source of information and becomes a tool of persuasion. Our data shows that in many cases, including Indonesia, when news outlets try to educate or guide the public, they often end pushing selective stories that fit particular interests. Instead of shaping a healthy mindset, they create bias and polarization. Our warrant here is that citizens should form their mindset based on open, diverse information, not from being guided by what the media thinks they should believe. The best way for media to help people think critically is by presenting multiple perspectives. Honestly, not by preaching what right or wrong. Now the Prime Minister say that educational contents building critical and informed citizens. We disagree. Our argument is that true education needs structure, guidance, and reflection, things that the media cannot provide. Our data shows that so-called educational content on social media often lack accuracy, depth, and accountability. People watch 1 minute videos and think they've learned something, but without context or verification. It can spread misinformation instead of knowledge. Our warning is that being informed requires process, discussion, questioning, and evaluation, which only happens in real educational settings like schools and classrooms. The media can support learning, yes, but that doesn't mean it's responsible for building citizens. Our backing is simple. Teachers are trained to educate, journalists are trained to report. Confusing these two roles will only weaken both professions. Finally, the Prime Minister claims that promoting educational content is a moral duty. That's where our strongest disagreement lies. Our claim is that morality in media is about honesty and fairness, not about deciding what counts as education. Our data from press codes of ethics already shows that journalists are bound to moral principles. They must be truthful, accurate, and serve the public interest. That's already moral duty. Forcing them to educate crosses that line because it assumes one definition of morality that may not present everyone. Our warning is that morality is subjective. What one group sees as return that application will risk censorship, where the media is only allowed to produce what's seen as morally educational. That's not education, that's control. From the opposition side, we offer a new perspective. Instead of forcing media to promote educational content, we should focus on building media literacy among the public. This is our alternative argument. A critical society is not built by control content, but by informed citizens who can think critically about any content that they consume. If people understand how to evaluate media, they want the media to educate them. They can educate themselves. Our data shows that programs focused on media literacy, such as Cerdas Media in Indonesia, have proven more effective in helping young people distinguish between fact and bias. Our warning is that a free, responsible media combined with a literate public creates genuine education through interaction, not through moral instruction. To conclude, we in the opposition believe that the media should remain free, fair, and factual. Once it is forced to carry a moral duty to educate, it becomes a tool of control instead of a space for truth. Education belongs in schools,
You have 1
morally
minute
built
left,
in
Leader of Opposition.
individuals, and freedom belongs in the media. That's how we truly build an informed and critical society, not by forcing media to change, but by letting it stay honest, open, and independent. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for your speech. Now I call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the government's case. Deputy Prime Minister, the time is yours.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. I stand here as the Deputy Prime Minister, proudly supporting the motion that the media has a moral duty to promote educational content. First, I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for laying out the foundation of our case that the media is not only a tool for entertainment, but also a social institution with real influence on public values and knowledge. And while we appreciate the opposition perspective, we strongly disagree with their attempt to separate entertainment from education, as if the media has no social responsibility. In my speech today, I will first respond to the key opposition claim, then I'll extend our side with two additional arguments. First, the opposition might argue that the media main purpose to entertain and make profit, not to educate. However, influence comes with responsibility. When millions of people, especially young audience, consume media daily, the creators' ineffability shape their tone, language, and worldview. So, even if media companies are business, they still have ethical obligations similar to those in journalism, advertising, or film profession that must follow moral standards because they affect society at large. Entertainment is fine, but when entertainment dominates at the cost of truth, empathy, or social awareness, the media becomes part of the problem rather than the solution. The first argument is the media has moral duty to promote educational content because it can actively reduce misinformation and ignorance in society. In today's digital world, false information spread faster than ever. A 2023 MIT study found that fake news spread 6 times faster on social media than factual stories. When media outlets focus on education, for example, producing fact-based documentaries, science explainer, or verified health campaigns, they help people make informed and responsible decisions. Since misinformation directly harms society, causing health risks, political instability, and social conflict. It follows that the media, as the main channel of mass communication, has moral responsibility to counter it through education. Media ethics, such as those started in UNESCO Media Development Indicator, emphasize that communications that serve public interest and democratic knowledge. So this isn't just about a business strategy, it's about duty. By promoting educational and factual content, the media fulfills its moral role of protecting truth and empowering the public. Think of public health campaigns during COVID-19, educational videos, and news segments explaining vaccination literally save lives. Without those, misinformation about miracle cures and microchip in vaccine might have caused even greater harm. That's moral responsibility in action and prove that educational content is essential for social well-being. Second is media that promotes education builds in a culture of knowledge, creativity, and empathy, essential values for a progressive society. Educational programs like Sesame Street have improved children's literacy and social skills across the generation. Similarly, YouTube channels like Kurzgesagt, Cars Course, and National Geographic attract millions of viewers who voluntarily learn science, history, philosophy in engaging ways. This show that people actually want to learn when the media present education in creative and enjoyable form. Since the media reach all demographics, children, adult, even elderly, it becomes one of the most effective tools to sustain lifelong learning outside formal education. Educational psychology supports this. Learning is not limited to school. It's a continuous process shaped by daily exposure to information and culture. Therefore, when the media promotes curiosity, empathy, and global awareness, it contributes to the moral and intellectual growth of society. After the release of Our Planet on Netflix, environmental awareness rose significantly. Viewers reported changing their consumption habits and supporting conservation causes. This is clear proof that well-crafted educational media can change real-world behavior and for the better. And I will give the extension. The opposition might say it's not the media job to teach, that the school responsibility, but that's a narrow view. School educates a few hours per day, but media operates 24/7 across every device, influencing billions. So, when education stops at classroom, media must continue the process. Through storytelling, information sharing, and cultural influence. Thus not replacing teacher, it reinforcing education through everyday exposure. Of course, we're not saying that all contents must be strictly
Deputy
academic
Prime
or
Minister,
boring.
you have 1 minute left.
The point is balance. We believe that while entertainment can exist, it must not ignore the moral obligation to educate directly or indirectly through positive message, factual accuracy, and cultural enrichment. That's why moral duty truly means using influence responsibility. In conclusion, the media holds enormous power to inform or mislead, to uplift or corrupt. With such power comes to the moral duty to choose education over ignorance. We've shown that educational media reduce misinformation, strengthen critical thinking, promotes lifelong learning, and inspire positive behavior. Therefore, this debate is not about limiting creativity, it's about guiding it toward what benefit humanity. For this reason, we proudly stand by the motion. The media has a moral duty to promote educational content. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Now I call upon the Deputy Leader of Opposition to continue the opposition's case. Deputy Leader of Opposition, the time is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. As the Deputy Leader of Opposition, I proudly stand to defend our stance that the media's moral duty is truth, not teaching. In this speech, I'll respond to Deputy Prime Minister's points, and then I'll bring a new argument that shows how making the media educate the public can actually be dangerous for democracy. Deputy Prime Minister said that educational content prevents misinformation, but that's not always true. In fact, when media labels something as educational, people tend to believe it without question. And that's the problem. It creates false authority. People stop asking, is this really true? And instead say, oh, it's educational, so it must be right. Real journalism doesn't work like that. The media should make people think critically, compare sources and ask questions, not just swallow whatever is presented as educational. So, ironically, promoting educational content might make people less critical, not more. Then they said that educational content supports social development. That's a nice idea, but it's mix up two different things. Yeah, the media can influence society, but developing people,
its job. Education requires structure, discussion, and feedback. Media doesn't have the capacity for that. A news anchor isn't a teacher, and a journalist isn't a lecturer. So forcing them to educate means we are expecting them to do something they're not designed for. That only makes their real mission to inform weaker. Next, the DPM said that media influences the youth. Of course, is that everything influences the youth, movies, music, even memes, but influence doesn't mean moral obligation. Just because young people listen to songs doesn't mean singer must always make a moral music, right? The same logic applies here. The journalist's moral duty is accuracy and fairness, not to tell us what to believe or how to behave. Now let me extend our case with one key idea. If we say that media has a moral obligation to promote educational content, we're actually giving power to certain groups to decide what educational means. And that's dangerous. In many countries, governments or big corporations already use educational campaigns to push their own agendas, political, social, or even religious. So whoever defines educational controls the story. And once that happens, media is no longer free. It becomes a tool of moral control instead of a platform for open discussion. That's why our team believes the media's true moral duty is to stay truthful, balanced, and independent, not to promote one version of morality. So in the end, the government wants a media that teaches. We want a media that tells the truth. They want control. We want freedom. They want uniformity. We defend diversity. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. I now call upon the Member of Government to deliver the extension for the government bench. Member of Government, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, Honorable Chair, members of the House, and my respected opponents. Good day, everyone. I'm Aziza as a member of government. I will continue supporting our team stance that the media indeed has a more moral obligation to promote educational content. As explained by opening government before, why this motion is matters today, and in this current era, media dominates people's daily lives, such as through television, social media, and also online platforms. Instead of providing information that enrich people's mind, most media outlets focus more on entertainment, gossips, and profit-making content. So as a result, the audience are more exposed to shallow or misleading information rather than learning something meaningful. So in this situation, may rise the question: should media only serve what people want, or should it also serve what people need? So let me break down my arguments. First, educational media builds public trust and sustainability. Promoting educational content helps media build stronger long-term trust and credibility among audiences. So, based on a 2023 report, that audiences increasingly distrust media outlets that focus on clickbait and sensationalism, while they value those that provide verified, educational, and meaningful information. So this proves that audiences reward integrity when media promotes educational content. It strengthens its moral and professional reputation. So for instance, channels such as BBC or National Geographic have gained loyal global audiences not merely because they entertain, but they also educate with integrity. Their reputation stands as proof that educational content and public trust can grow together. Therefore, the moral obligation to promote education is not only ethical but also practical by being truthful and educational. Uh, and second argument, profit should not override ethics. The pursuit of profit should not make media forget its ethical responsibility to the public. Many media companies argue that they just give what people like, but the truth is audiences' interests are shaped by what media repeatedly presents. So if they constantly see gossip or violence, they start believing that such content is normal and entertaining. So this shows that media not only reflect culture, it has a moral obligation to guide public taste toward more valuable and educational content. So when major TV station or online platform make learning fun, such as talk show, creative documentaries, or short educational clips, they prove that educational content can still attract a wide audience without losing profit. So balancing ethics and entertainment can strengthen media credibility and public trust. So in conclusion, we believe that the media is not just a business, but it is a moral actor in society. With its huge influence, it has the power and duty to shape people knowledge and values. So by promoting educational content, media fulfill its moral responsibility to build a better and more enlightened society. Thank you.
Thank you, Member of Government. I now call upon the Member of Opposition to deliver the extension for the opposition bench. Member of Opposition, the time is yours.
Thank you, Chair. As a member of opposition, I will continue to support our team's stance that the media does not have a moral obligation to promote educational contents. As explained by the opening governments, this motion arises from the current era where media dominates people's daily lives. Through television, social media, and various online platforms, however, instead of only being informative, many media outlets are also entertainment-based, and this is not automatically immoral. So, before moving to my arguments, let's remember that the purpose of media is not to instruct or to teach. That's the role of schools and teachers. Media access to inform, express, and reflect society. Hence, the question today is not should the media be moral, but what kind of morality should media uphold? Let me explain our points. The first argument, educational content should be a choice, not an obligation. Forcing all media to prioritize educational content limits creative freedom and diversity of expression. Media platforms serve different audiences. Some seek entertainment, others seek information or education. If we turn every media outlet into an educational one, we risk losing the verity that keeps public discourse alive. In reality, people learn differently, some through humor, art, or storytelling, not only through formal education content. So, it is not moral enforcement that creates better citizens, but the freedom to choose, consume, and reflect on diverse perspectives. And the second argument, education requires structure while media lack it. Education is based on structure, curriculum, evaluation, and verified learning outcomes. Media, however, operates on accessibility, speed, and creativity. Expecting media to act like a teacher misunderstands its nature. Even if media promotes educational content, There is no guarantee that people will learn properly. Since there's no feedback or assessment system, so labeling is a moral obligation creates confusion between education and communication. The moral role of media should be to provide accurate, balanced, and diverse information, not to teach like schools do. And the third argument, immorality in media means honest, not moral praising. Morality in journalism and media is about truth, transparency, and integrity, not about deciding what is good or bad to consume. When media focuses too much on teaching morality or educational lessons, it risks becoming biased or manipulative. True morality means being honest, showing facts as they are, giving context, and letting audiences form their own judgments. Therefore, the real morality of media is to tell the truth, not to act as moral guardians of society. Government argued that educational content builds public trust and credibility, but that's not always the case. Trust comes from accuracy and fairness, not only from being educational. People trust BBC or National Geographic not simply because they educate, but because they report truthfully and maintain journalistic standards. Also, the claim that profit should not override ethics sounds good in theory, but in practice, ethics include respecting an audience autonomy. If audiences prefer entertainment, forcing them into educational contents and can actually reduce engagement and drive them toward unregulated media platforms, which causes more misinformation, not less. And the conclusion. Ladies and gentlemen, the media is not a teacher. Its job is not to instruct but to inform honestly. Education must remain in the hands of educators, not media companies driven by algorithms and trends. Therefore, we firmly reject the idea that media has a moral obligation to promote educational content because morality means truth, not control. Thank you.
Thank you, member of opposition. I now call upon the government whip to summarize the government's case. Government whip, this time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair and respectable adjudicators. Now, I'm as the government whip. I will conclude the government arguments. First, media shapes society's main side. Media is the primary source of narrative and public discourse today. The constant bombardment of sensational or purely entertaining content fundamentally alters how citizens perceive reality, lowering the attention span and prioritizing passive consumption over active engagement. Second argument is educational content. Okay. Second argument is educational content builds critical and informed citizens. A democratic society depends on citizens who can evaluate information and make rational decisions public. Third is a moral duty, not just a choice. Given the media's power to influence and disseminate information, its purpose must extend beyond provide. And fourth, educational content prevents misinformation. Misinformation and disinformation thrive on vacuum of knowledge. By systematically increasing the quantity and quality of educational content, the media effectively raises the baseline literacy and domain knowledge of the public. Last, educational content supports social development. Social progress, like economic growth, public health, and scientific acceptance, is intrinsically linked to public education levels. By embedding educational content in daily media consumption, the platform acts as powerful engine for national. Plus, media has a real impact on the youth. Children and adolescents are disproportionately exposed to the media, often without the mature cognitive filters needed to process complex issues. Now, the conclusion is the government's intervention to mandate educational content is not an overreach but a necessary and moral defense of public intelligence and social development against the overwhelming profit driven tide of low quality entertainment. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Whip. I now call upon the final speaker of today's debate, the Opposition Whip, to summarize the opposition case. Opposition Whip, the time is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and the adjudicators for the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, today's debate centers one key issue. Should the media be morally obligated to promote educational contents? This motion comes from a real world problem. The idea that media today spreads too much entertainment, gossip, or even misinformation. The government believes that the best solution is to make the media morality responsible for promoting education. However, as the position, we believe this approach is deeply flawed. Media's true role is to inform truthfully and freely, not to teach or control how people think. Before moving on, we accept the general definition given by the Prime Minister that media includes television, online platforms, and social media, but we reject the idea that morality should dictate what they must promote. Our stance is simple. The media should be honest and independent, not moral forced to promote certain content. The first class is about what media is supposed to do. The Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister told us that media shapes people's mindset and therefore has a duty to educate them. But our leader of opposition clearly explained that media's responsibility is to inform, not to educate. Education requires structure, interaction, and evaluation, something that media simply cannot provide. When the government says media should build critical citizens, they confuse the rules of schools and the press. Once you give media the power to teach instead of inform, you risk giving it too much authority to decide what people should believe, that where bias, manipulation, and polarization begin. In contrast, we in opposition defend media is independence. We want information that is honest and balanced, not filtered through someone's fashion or morality. So on this class, we clearly win because we protect the integrity and freedom of the media. The second major class is about moral obligation versus media freedom. The government insists that promoting educational contents is a moral duty, but our team has shown that morality is subjective in change depending on a cultural or politics and power. If we force media to act on one moral standard, who decides what is moral? Government, religions group, corporate owners? That opens the door to control, manipulation, and censorship that everyone opposite of what moral integrity should mean. As our deputy leader said, true morality is media comes from truth, fairness, and authenticity, not from being told what to promote. Our member of opposition extended this idea perfectly. A media that is free, honest, and independent is already moral because it allows people to think, not to be told what to think. So forcing media to be moral, we actually destroy its real morality, which is freedom. The third class is about the effect of media on society and the youth. The Deputy Prime Minister and member government said that educational contents helps prevent misinformation, support social development, and positively shape young minds. We agree that misinformation, is dangerous, but forcing morality on media is not the solution. As our team argued, diversity of contents is what truly educate people. Entertainment, documentaries, news, and even creative works can teach values and lessons in different ways. A song can teach empathy, a movie can teach courage, a game can teach strategy. When we label only educational content as a moral, you ignore the fact that people learn from many forms of experience. Therefore, society benefits more from freedom and variety, not from moral restriction. Let's quick summarize our side's case. The leader of opposition established that the media duty is to inform, not to teach, and that giving its moral power is bias. The deputy leader of opposition showed that moral obligation is dangerous because it threatens freedoms and invites censorship. The member of opposition extended this by proving that morality in media lies in truth and independence, not in obligation. Together, our team built a consistent, logical, and realistic stance, one that preserves both ethnics and freedoms. Meanwhile, the government side gave us idealistic claims without mechanism. They never explained who decides what's moral, how this moral obligation will be enforced, or what happens to media that refuse to follow it.
Opposition whip, you have 1 minute
Their
left.
argument should not sound novel, but they collapse in practically. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all speakers for your performance and arguments. That concludes the debating session for this round. We will now proceed to the adjudicator process, where our adjudicators will evaluate this debate and determine the ranking of each team. During this process, all debaters are kindly requested to remain seated and silent, as the adjudicators will take some time to deliberate and discuss the result. The deliberation may take around 10 to 15 minutes, so please be patient while we wait for the final result. Adjudicators, you may now begin the deliberation.
Okay, thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. First of all, good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, as well as member of the House. First of all, thank you very much to all speakers for your patient and thoughtful debate. I appreciate the clear structure, confidence, and engagement from both benches today. The government side was strong in moral framing and logical consistency as well as the benefits. And on the opposition side was focused on threats that could danger the education point of view. Now let's move on to the evaluate how they respond at the side of the motive. First, we have our Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of the debate clearly and persuasively, framing the motion around the social responsibility of media. Argument was supported with solid background. The delivery of the content is clear and the pronunciation is good. You maintain clarity throughout your speech, and the message was easy to follow. Keep up with confidence and the machine you already have. Our leader of opposition, the strengthening their argument. So far, the definition of the content are good. Improve, make your intonation and gesture more energetic and firm. The pace of speaking could be slightly more controlled. Third, we have our Deputy Prime Minister. The delivery is clear and he maintained a good pace of speaking and solid fact for argument. The content is easy to follow and well structured. There are little in parts. However, your intonation and gesture could be more expressive and more energetic. Fourth, we have our leader of opposition. The delivery pronunciation are good. The argument back with solid information and your overall structure and confidence are constant throughout the debate, adding more variation in tone and expression as well as gesture keep the audience engaged. Next, we have for member of government. The member of government have clear and very nice ways of speaking and have solid wisdom. But your pronunciation have a little bit in some part, and the intonation should be more firm and have some variation to enhance connection and with our events. Six, we have for a member of opposition. The member of opposition have clear and nice pace of speaking. Argument gives a good background. The delivery of content is good and well organized, and the pronunciation is also good. The speech of good intonation can be more powered up to enhance clarity and confidence when you say your arguments. Next, we have our government whip. Government whip have clear and nice pace of speaking. The argument also conclude the government side nicely. The way of content is good and well organized, and the pronunciation is also good. The intonation and gesture should be improved for a better engagement with audience. And last, we have our opposition whip. Opposition whip have clear and very nice pace of speaking with good background and confidence. However, there are some mispronounced in some parts, but your content is easy to follow. To improve, add a little bit more energy and variation in tone to make the speech livelier. Overall, the debate today shows good preparation and solid understanding of the motion. Most speakers demonstrate clear pronunciation, arguments, and confident delivery. The main area for collective improvement is intonation and engagement. More variation in tone and slightly more energy would elevate the overall performance. Once again, great everyone for today's debates. Next, we have the announcement for today's debate winner.
Good afternoon, everyone. You guys did amazing today. Every team showed great effort and teamwork. So well done to all of you. Now for today's result. For the first winner, we have opening government. And the second place goes to opening opposition. Third place is closing government. And finally, fourth place goes to closing opposition. Thank you to all speakers, the chair, for making today's debate possible. Congratulations once again, and have a lovely evening, everyone. Afternoon, everyone.
Thank you very much, adjudicators. We will now move. Thank you so much for all the adjudicators. Thank you for your valuable feedback and for the rank announcement. On behalf of all participants, I would also like to express our gratitude for the time and attention given by the adjudicators. To all debaters, congratulations on completing your debate today. Remember that every round is a learning process and improvement always comes with practice. Once again, thank you for your performance and enthusiasm. That officially concludes our debate session today. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day ahead. This session is now officially closed.